So here's where you go to check the configuration on your system with regard to the GPU support. You go to the window menu and click on settings. And in the settings panel, program settings, you'll see two parts. One is memory options. That one is more so how much memory you want to allocate. And by default, I think it's 64 megabytes. You may want to yank this up to 256. That's how much memory is reserved for interactive undo, for just undo. This is the undo memory. Not really related to the GPU. But next to that, there is threading and GPU. So click on that button, and you'll see a couple of things. One is it will tell you about the multi-threading capability of your processor, the CPU side. This one here shows 8 threads. That's because I have an i7 second generation, which with hyperthreading, quad core, but hyperthreading times 2 gives it 8 logical cores. And so that's a good thing to double check to see if you have 2 or 4 or 8 cores or even more. That will significantly increase the performance of many of the filters that are now multi-threaded. There is the section down here on CPU as well, and the disabled GPU, the GPU down here. If you are having some problems when you launch Dogwaffle, or if you have perhaps some of the 3D designer not working, for instance the shaded mode is not showing, it's just staying black, most likely the GPU is not able to be used, and so the program is tapping into a resource that's not up to snuff, and you will need to disable that so that it will switch back to the CPU. It will be slower, but it will still work. Okay, so that's the idea, is that if you have a GPU that's able to give you the full acceleration beyond the regular CPU use, then it will want to use that. But sometimes it gets misled as to what's really available, and it may not be at the revision level needed. Maybe a new driver will do, but most of the time it's the graphic card is just too old to be supported. So what you can do is you can simply click here to disable that, and then you click OK and save it and quit the program and relaunch it, and then after that you should be fine. There are some cases that we're currently looking at where there might still be a warning message to the effect that something is not supported on the GPU side, but that's something that we don't know exactly how much control we have of that. This may be a warning message at a layer below our own code. So when it goes into the GPU initialization and checkup. So that may be an update coming soon. But anyway, at this point here, you can disable it here. Another thing you can do, if you have the GPU enabled, and only if it works, right, you can do a benchmark here. And the benchmark will run and render the Mandelbrot 100 times on the CPU and then on the GPU, and then it will show you the fraction or difference in time, and also how much one was faster than the other. So let me click that to give you an idea. It's gonna look like it's flickering, but it's really just rendering really quickly. And in both cases, in this case here, it's a pretty fast CPU as well. But still, so it completed this 100 renderings in 4.5, that's a second, so roughly something like that. GPU did this in less than a second, and then so the difference, or the fraction of the two, was, GPU divided by multi was 0.2, or the multi-threaded CPU divided by GPU was 4.8. So that basically tells you that the GPU was running 4.8 times faster than going through the CPU. And this is a good number to use. I mean, when you see that it goes 2 times or 3 times faster, it's definitely a good idea to use the GPU. Provided the GPU you have is stable and reliable, and you don't run into any sort of problems of it crashing or anything like that. So this is a good test to run if you have a GPU that is up to snuff, and you can get a good idea here, a good sense that it will help to keep it enabled.